Hi, I'm Ambar, and this is Ambar in real life. This podcast is my space to share the journey of becoming. Through honest reflections, personal stories, and conversations with people in my life who have shaped who I am. From health and self worth to love, career, and everything in between, I'm here to speak what's true and sometimes comment on some of my posts that I've written on my blog, Ambar Virtual. If you are on your own path of growth and craving real connection, welcome. You are not alone. Hi, and welcome to Ambar in Real Life, a space where we talk about personal growth, emotional maturity, and navigating adulthood in a way that feels more human, less overwhelming, and a little more full of hope. Today is the very first episode, so I'm very excited, very thankful that you're all here with me, and I intend on releasing episodes every other week in between my blog, Ambar Virtual, that you can also find on Substack. I want to start this episode with a confession, or maybe just more of like a reflection. When I first started my blog, Amber Virtual, I titled my very first post, Surviving Adulthood. And I think about it now, and wow, I really feel the dramatism behind it. Because honestly, that's exactly how I felt at that time. Like adulthood was something that I had to survive, not like live. I have to survive it. I was constantly managing the weight of expectations from myself first, from people that I love, from my family. I have to carry the weight of my decisions and all of the supposed to's of being a grown up that we have been told for years now. But nowadays, and for a few months now, almost 2 years later, after I wrote that post, I'm really happy to say that I feel different and that I see things very differently than how I used to. So I want to share what's changed in my life, not just in my environment, not just in the people around me, but the way I see it. So, this episode is all about shifting from survival to thriving in adulthood and what that really looks like and feels like from my perspective, obviously, in a daily, constant basis. So, let's go back for a little moment. That first blog post came from a place of emotional exhaustion, not burnout necessarily, although I had like two previous cases of burnout that I was just recovering from. But this time it felt like something a bit quieter, like this heaviness in my body, heaviness in my mind, in my thoughts, because I was doing everything right on the outside, but on the inside, I feel stuck in a loop of just trying to get through every single day, trying to get through every task, trying to get through every other decision that I had to make for my personal life, like food and friends, family, and situations that were happening. Like I was just keeping my head above the water, but not really swimming toward anything. I didn't have a goal, a purpose. There was something missing from me. I felt like every day was just the same thing over and over again, and things were not improving. So I do believe that sometimes that's how adulthood feels, like a survival game. Like we're just given these tasks and things to do, and we just have to survive through them. But here's the thing, I don't resent the version of me who wrote that post. I actually feel extremely proud, and I have so much love for her because she was honest. I love her because she was telling the world how she was feeling, raw honesty. She didn't sugarcoat any of the things that were happening. And sometimes when we put the name on the things and the situations, the emotions too, that feel heavy in our bodies and in our souls, that's the very first step that we can actually begin this journey toward making them feel lighter for ourselves. Somewhere along the way, though, very quietly, as small things in life happen, very slowly, my perspective on things began to shift. I started noticing how much of my experience was shaped not just by my circumstances and my experiences, previous ones and current ones, but by the story I was telling myself about all of these experiences and emotions and circumstances, even people around me. And I don't mean that in just think positive, this toxic positivity kind of way that we're seeing everywhere. What I mean is the language, the actual language, the actual words that I was using with myself. That internal monologue that actually now it's more like a dialogue because I have these conversations with myself and people ask me, but do you respond to yourself? And I'm like, yes. I sometimes I send messages to myself and I respond to them because they're something that I've learned along the way is that the narrative, the language that we use, they have so much power. So when we try to communicate that, even if it kind of at the beginning kind of feels weird and like we're crazy, it actually helps. So I understand now that if I woke up and told myself that today is going to be hard and complicated, I will find a way to prove that true. I will find a way to make that day specifically hard and complicated. If I face a challenge and immediately thought, this is too much, I can do it, I will feel it like too much, even if it just was the simplest thing or task that I had to do. So I started experimenting with different stories, different words and language that I was telling to myself, gentler ones, more hopeful ones. I remember this book that I read a few years ago, The Four Agreements, and the power of our words is something that we really have to pay attention to. So I started to shift my language and I'll say things like, yes, this might be hard, but I can handle hard things. I know I can do it. I've been here before. I know how to support myself. I know how to meet my own needs. Maybe there's something new here for me to learn. Maybe there's something that I haven't completely understood. So, for me, what feels kind of like magic, I will say, and wild and crazy for other people is that this shift actually worked. Obviously not perfectly because life is not perfect, and there's something about me is that I'm not looking for perfection. I'm a recovering perfectionist, so feeling that things had to be perfect from the get-go, from day one, I knew that that was not going to happen. But being consistent with all of these little changes and habits, that's what actually helped me and help this process run smoothly, or a bit easier than what I was actually thinking that it was going to be. So, changing the way that I spoke to myself really changed, absolutely changed the way that I was experiencing my life. And yes, let me be clear, thriving doesn't mean that I still don't have hard days, because I do, a lot of them, more that if I could pick them, they wouldn't exist anymore. But yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm always joyful. It doesn't mean that I'm always grateful, that I'm always centered, that my inner peace is perfect all the time. Like I said, I'm not striving for perfection here because I know that that's just not how life is. That's not how life is. So thriving for me just means that I can come back to peace faster, that I know how to meet myself in the mess with more kindness, that I trust myself a little more with each challenge. Also, I don't spiral as easily. I can control my emotions a little bit more, my reactions to things and situations. And I really try my best to stop making my hard moments and situations, the challenges that I'm facing, I took the meaning out of them that something is wrong with me. So I now know that even if things go wrong, it's not my fault. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad daughter or sister or friend or roommate or whatever. So now I can remind myself that Everything that happens is just part of life. It's part of being a human being. And we are wired to make mistakes. We're wired to learn through experience. And sometimes these experiences are just not good. And here's the part that really, really excites me. Like, this is something that makes me so happy about this whole change that I've been seeing, because for me now, adulthood isn't something that we just survive, it's something that we build. Adulthood now for me has this meaning of a creative process. I'm learning new things and creating and building new things with those experiences and with that new knowledge. So every day that we make choices, even the tiny ones, all of them shape the world that we live in. Not just the outer world, not just our environment and the people around us, but also our inner world, which is for me the most important one, our thoughts, our relationship with ourselves, our pace, the way how we show up and do our things. Not with this hustle culture where you don't get to rest for weeks in a row because you have to finish this first, because you have to be perfect in every sense. No, 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 no. Every day we make the choice to hear our own inner voice and decide what to do with it. And when we decide, because that's a conscious decision that we make, when we decide, when we choose to show up with more curiosity, with more compassion, and more belief in our process, we start to see and notice that we're not just coping anymore. We're actually creating new things. So the future that we want, it won't arrive all at once, because we are actually building it in these little conscious moments that we are deciding to live right now in the present. So if you're listening to this and you have been feeling stuck in survival mode, I want to tell you this: you are not broken, you're not behind, and you're definitely not alone in this. You can meet this precise moment differently. You can choose to speak to yourself like someone who's worth rooting for. You can start to be your own cheerleader, and you can just flip the script, change it, shift the story. In that shift from surviving to thriving, you'll notice that you don't need perfection. The only thing that you really need is your own conscious presence. So I hope that this is your reminder that you don't have to stay in the narrative of a struggle. I know, yes, life can be hard. Notice that birth choice, life can be hard, but it also can be beautiful. It can also be creative. It can also be meaningful. Even while these hardships are also coming. So in between the hardships, life can be beautiful and creative and meaningful. You just have to decide how you relate to it. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what story am I telling about this season of my life? And is one that is helping me grow? Think about it. I really hope that this episode resonated with you, and I would love for you to subscribe to Ambar in Real Life so we can keep exploring these kind of conversations together. You can also check out my writing at Ambar Ritual on Substack. And if someone that you love or you care about came to mind while listening to this, feel free to share this episode with them, because sometimes you never know how much they might need to hear it today as well. I'm so glad that we're in this real life together. So until next time, please take care of your mind, please take care of your body, and please take care of your heart. Bye.